Hello and welcome to another episode of the AV Experience. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Jonathan Von England. I didn't even have to look at your name, Jonathan. I even typed it out for you in your thing down below because you were another one of me for whatever reason.
You've
So,
been practicing.
yeah, I sit here and I practice. It's like I'm do re mi fa sol la ti do, and I'm sitting here, Jonathan Von England, Jonathan Von England, Jonathan Von England. Made it work. I made it happen. So if anybody hears a movie in the background, my son's watching a movie with his girlfriend in the theater. They have to keep the door open. So you may hear it. It's not astronomically loud, but it's still not quiet. So the dynamic microphone should keep it at bay. But if anybody hears it, drop it in chat and I will address it there. But you guys are in the presence, evidently, of the Snake Oil King. I got a new moniker today. Jonathan made it known to me that I was now a proud promoter of snake oil, which I never thought I would get this. This has done an entire 180. I don't even know how many degrees we are for this because I entered the space to dispel a lot of snake oil, and now I am being accused of snake oil because I'm telling people not to spend money.
It's like the opposite of the way the term's normally used.
What's the stuff that's used to clean up oil slicks?
Like kitty litter, the kitty litter king.
You're just sprinkling me out on the driveway to clean up oil spills.
It is funny because traditionally snake oil salesmen would be like trying to part you and your money, but a lot of times you're like, "Nah, you don't need to buy that."
I did that. So I was on vacation a couple times I wasn't on vacation a couple times this week. I was on vacation this week. My family and I went to California. We did Disneyland. We did California Adventure. And we did Universal, which we'll talk about Universal specifically here in a bit because it was awesome. But I got a couple people that text me and I talk them out of buying stuff. Like, don't waste your money. Like that's not going to help you. Don't do that. So it's interesting that you just sent me a thread while I'm driving home from the airport and it's like Snake Oil King. I'm like, oh, well, this is interesting. It's Audiogon, but I'm not going to.
I didn't find it, to be fair. One of our guests on our show, or one of our viewers, actually sent it to me. A guy named John sent it to me, and I said, "Does Ryan know he's talked about here or whatnot?" And I said, "Probably not." I mean, I didn't know about it either.
I just find it hilarious. So we'll get to that in a minute. I want to know how you've been, Jonathan, because last time we really talked was when was the Iowa crawl.
It's been a while.
We've exchanged some texts, but it's been a bit.
Yeah.
How have you been? Your in-laws, I think, are gone. Or are they back now for Thanksgiving?
No, they come once or twice a year, so they're gone for a while. Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice visit with them here. They come in from Pennsylvania and stay a week or two usually. So this was a 2-week venture, and I get along with them real well. I like having them here, so it's no problem at all to my perspective.
Well, you guys did
and so we watch movies, that kind of thing.
You did the barbecue crawl. You're all about the crawls.
I got some sort of food poisoning or rhinovirus or something off a door handle. I don't know. It was not
door handle.
That was not great the way I felt that night after our barbecue crawl.
There's always something that happens with anything that you're doing with family or an adventure or something. There's always something that comes up, and you got sick from something, whatever it was. I don't know, but
yeah,
you were telling me that you got sick.
It was the door handles because the food was all pretty good.
That's good.
We went to 4 different barbecue places and got 2 sandwiches each, and we had a car full of 5 people, and 5 people. We shared 2 sandwiches, just like cut them in half. Basically, one person got a third of each one.
Your girls didn't go?
Just my oldest did. So it was Megan's parents and my oldest. Anyway, we had a good time. Like, went to 4 different places here in Kansas City and just tried their 2 famous sandwiches or what looked good off the menu and divided them up. Went to the next place. It was a road trip.
What was your favorite? You broke this out in text, but
yeah, Kansas City Joe's was my favorite by far out of the ones we went to this time.
It's never going to be Kansas City Joe's to me. It's always Oklahoma Joe's.
Yeah, it's a little bit backwards with the name change.
I don't like the name change. I understand why they did it. I just don't like the name change. So for anybody who doesn't know, Kansas City's got many famous barbecue joints. There's one that was originally called Oklahoma Joe's that was run out of a gas station. Many of them are run out of gas stations, but this one started in a gas station. The original's still there. And it was called Oklahoma Joe's. And then they decided that, no, we're going to change away from Oklahoma Joe's. And now we're Kansas City Joe's.
Yeah, they started here in Kansas City. So the name was always a little confusing. But
then it confused more people because they changed the name.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't sit right with me because that's not what I grew up knowing them as. But it's fine. They're
We
still
got the
the same.
Smoky Joe and the Z-Man there. Those are both fantastic
They
sandwiches.
are.
And we
They
did
are.
Rosedale, and we did pig. What was it? Local
Pigwitch?
pig or something? Pigwitch, yes. And then we did Slaps. Those are the 4
Okay.
we went to.
Now back to something that, just to make sure people know, Kansas City's known for sweet and savory barbecue sauce. It's a very wet barbecue, right? We slather the sauce on and it's a sweet sauce, whereas East Coast is more of like a vinegar, sometimes mustard kind of base, and then Texas is more of dry rubs. So everybody does use a little bit of everything, but that's what Kansas City's known for. I don't think any one is better than the other. I think every locale, every restaurant has its strong suits. I'm going to back up off the restaurant one because some of them are really bad, so I can't really say that. But every locale, I'll say, has its strong suit. I like things from all the different ones, so I won't say that. So I want to talk about the vacation thing because I didn't think I was going to get some home theater stuff out of it. And it wasn't really home theater. It was more of theater. So I went to Disney, California. We went to Disneyland, take my daughter and my son. My daughter's 7 and my son's 15. Did Disneyland day one. And Disneyland was okay. I mean, anybody that's been to California and done Disneyland, it's Disneyland, right? It was super busy. And it was, there were a lot of people, right? So I won't really talk about Disneyland because there wasn't really anything remarkable. But right across the way is California Adventure, and I'll come back to that one. The next day, we went to Universal California. And Universal California is right next to Universal Studios, like the movie studios. And we got, my wife, I didn't really know what it was, but she got us a VIP thing. So we had a tour guide. And I thought, that's really bougie. I don't really think we need that. But it was awesome. And the reason it was awesome is because a lot of the people that work there, especially at Universal, are trying, as they said it, they're trying to be famous, right? They're trying to be actors. They're trying to work in the industry. Well, the guy that we got, his name is Patrick, and he's more on the technical side. So he wants to be a designer, a ride designer for Universal, and he's working up to do that. So we got some inside info on some of the rides and things to do. But the coolest thing about this, and I'll come back to one that we did after the tour, was the Backlot Studio Tour. And the Backlot Studio Tour, you can take it as a ride. It's kind of weird to think of as a ride because it's not really a ride, but they consider it a ride. Normally, it takes about an hour. Well, this one took about 2 hours. So we got an extra hour on top of what they all got, and we were able to leave the tram. So we weren't stuck on the bus, right? We could get off the bus. And before I get to the cool things that we were able to do, even though these things that I'm about to talk about were also cool, I want to address what most people get to do. So they get to do these, and the reason they call it a ride is because there's rides in the back lot. One of them was Peter Jackson's King Kong, which the bus pulls into effectively a stage house. So big building. And you're on this platform, and on either side are like 150-foot long screens that are 40 feet tall. And above you are 16 projectors. And what ended up happening is it was 2005 Peter Jackson's King Kong in 3D on both sides. And it's the T-Rex fight scene, except I don't think it's the original scene. And they're jumping back and forth over top of the bus, and it's the whole thing all around you, and the bus is moving while this whole thing is taking place. I didn't really like 3D, and I still don't like 3D in this context, but how they implemented 3D, that's how you do it. Because it's everywhere. And it was pretty cool to be able to have that happening in every direction. Like there was stuff everywhere. It just wasn't in front of you. There was sound everywhere. There was video everywhere. And you could tell it was old, but it was still remarkable. And it was 140 feet long. And you're not 5 feet from the screen. So it's not like an IMAX experience where the screen's really big, but you're sitting really far away from it. You're 5 feet from these screens. You can't even see the top half of the screen. But they did it in a way that it was just a fully immersive experience. So that was the first one we got to do. The next one was a practical demo.
That's just one of the rides at Universal.
So that's part of the studio tour. So you go back on the studio tour, and that's part of the thing that you get to do. So one of the other rides that you got to do, that was the rides, right? The ride is like the whole bus. The bus pulls into this thing. And one of the next ones you got to do was a practical effects demo called Earthquake. And you pull into this subway station, and it's effectively a demo to show how they can do different things and then reset everything. So it's an earthquake that takes place in a subway demo, and there's one of these in Universal Florida, the same thing. I think they do it in both places. I don't think the Peter Jackson one's in Florida. It was only there. And this one, like, the street above you drops in, the train comes in and crashes, and then there's a flood where they actually drop thousands of gallons of water that comes downstairs and hits the truck. And then they reset it, and you see everything come back. The subway train pulls back in. They recycle the water, and it goes back up. And the whole point there was practical effects and how they can do repeatability to reset everything. And that was a cool demo. But then we saw a Jaws one, and that was okay. The then hasn't happened yet. Saw a Jaws one. Then there was a rain one where we were like in the rainstorm that they were doing, and they dumped the rain down from the top, and they showed how lighting impacts how you're seeing the rain, and how rain's really difficult to see in the dark, but they use lighting, street lights, and that's why they always show that, to show the intensity of the rain. And then they did the flood again. So you had this inrush of water that came down. We got to drive through the War of the Worlds.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Like the airplane that crashed. So that set still exists, and we drove through it, and they have all the, like,
I'm hoping you're talking about like the 2005
2005 Tom Cruise, not the Ice Cube one. 2005
there was an Amazon
Tom
drone.
Cruise.
It swung in.
Yes. So we got to drive through that, and you saw the plane with the top ripped off, and you were there where these things were made. And there were some other ones, like there was a street, I can't remember what it was called, where a lot of streets, your State Farm commercials and stuff were filmed on this street a lot of times. But now the cool stuff. So there were all that stuff was cool, but this part was super cool. We got to go, and St. Denis, I can talk about this because it's done filming. But St. Denis Hospital, or St. Denis Medical, is a series that just finished wrapping, and this is one of their newest sound stages. This is something the normal studio tour doesn't get to do, but because we could leave the bus, we could do it. We got to go in the soundstage, and we got to be on the set. They were done filming, but we could see, like, walk in, and I'm on St. Denis's set, and I could see all the back stuff, like walk up and touch all of the acoustic material that's on all the walls, and look at all the rigging, and look at how I'm looking at the back sides of all of these set designs, and seeing, like, I could sit in the same chairs that all the actors were sitting, and you could see they were explaining, hey, this is why all the beds are angled, and this is why this is done, and this is why this is done, and this is why the roofs are done this way. And when you see stuff outside, it's actually just a shower curtain, and there's all of this stuff that you don't get to see, think about, and you're there. But you also realize, because of the next part, that it's amazing how it's not nearly as complicated as you think it is. Like, they're doing things exactly probably how you think they're doing it, and that's what's happening. But it's how they're getting around it is all through the camera, and how they're angling things and what the shot looks like. And they're able to use the same house because they're changing out the interior and shooting it from a different angle. And so that was super cool. Then the next one we went to was I can't really tell you about this one because I can't remember the reason he gave us. But I can tell you we did it. We went to their prop house. So we got to walk around in their prop house and see all of the different things. And it makes you realize that like a street post or a street light that you see has probably been in 500 movies. the same street lamppost and the same like banister, like the walkway thing that would restrict people. That's probably the same one that you see. It's probably the same one in the next movie, like literally the same one. And they picked it and put it into another movie. And so when they go in and do these, the whoever's picking props will just write something and then stick it on that prop. And then that's how they decide what props they're going to have. So you got to see a bunch of cool costume designs and chairs, and like they had, I don't even know how many office chairs, like row after row after row after row after row of different types of office chairs in different colors. And I asked him what the most common prop was, and he's like, yeah, probably like a pencil. I thought I'd get a more exciting answer, but no. And he explained the reason is that if you have a really unique prop, you can't use it over and over and over because everybody knows exactly what it is. And they're going to be like, hey, that prop was in this movie. So did that. And then after we did that, I had never seen this before. I'd done the Harry Potter ride in, guys, I promise we'll get to the topic, but I'd done the Harry Potter ride in Universal in Florida, but I had not done this part. And this part was not the ride, but standing outside for Christmas, they light up Hogwarts with lasers. And I thought it was going to be really dumb. It was super awesome. Like how the whole Hogwarts became a backdrop for lasers. And it was not just lights, but it became a movie screen. And you saw the Weasleys flying around and throwing fireworks. And when they were throwing fireworks, they were on the building. And then at the very end, they shot fireworks up into the air behind it and they backlit it. So Hogwarts had, and I would recommend that people see it, YouTube video this, because I didn't know what to expect, but it was way more than I expected, and I really enjoyed it. But the one that I really enjoyed along those lines was the World of Color at Disney World California Adventure. They have this pond. I don't know. It's probably 200 yards across one way and 100 yards the other way. And I heard that there was like 1,200 fountains in this pond. And my wife had done this. It's called, I don't know what it was, but you sit, and we got a nice seat in order to watch this. And I would recommend you do that because it allowed us to sit in the middle and see everything. And so what they do is there's a bunch of projectors on the other side. So imagine you're sitting on one side of like Chiefs Stadium, Arrowhead, or any stadium. You're sitting on one side, and the other side, there's a bunch of projectors, and the field is covered in water, and there's fountains down there. Okay. And then on the other side, there's also like a huge roller coaster, and it's not running, but on the roller coaster are a bunch of lights. So you have thousands of lights on this roller coaster. And also on that, you have movable lasers and lights that they can manipulate and do all kinds of stuff with. Well, this show that we saw was called Happiness. And the main character is Joy from Inside Out 2. And it's taking you on this journey of explaining to sadness what happiness is, like what joy is. And so it's using all of these different movie clips and songs to kind of explain happiness and the emotions to make it make sense to sadness. So it was a 22-minute story. Well, while this is happening, you have, I don't even know how many projectors are firing into the fountains that they're fanning out and using as screens. So you're seeing movies playing on water move across, like back and forth and moving and doing all of this cool stuff in the middle of a lake, effectively. And then all of the fountains are shooting up. And since the fountains they have depth, when the lasers fire through and they're hitting different points, it's like a 3D effect. So now you have depth to everything that's happening across the lake. So now they're able to create like a sky, and it is a literal visual sky because it has depth, because the fountains are all the way across front to back in this space. And they're able to do some amazingly unique things in this. And it was mind-blowing how they were able to do this and what they were doing. And it was amazing. If you guys go, I don't know that Disney World still has it. They might. I think they did originally, but it is entirely worth it. It happens once or twice a night. I think now it's once a night at Disneyland in the California Adventure. and I would go again just for that. Like, that's how good it was. It was amazing. I, again, didn't think it was gonna be anything incredible, but that was the last thing we did, and it put a perfect cap on everything that happened. So I enjoyed it.
It
The
sounds
whole
like you're
thing
saying
was
the lasers are directly opposed to where you're sitting. How is that, like,
I don't know how they
not
did
bad
it.
for your eyes or something when you're, like, looking
I
at those
think they were over
spotlight
there,
images?
but maybe they weren't. I don't know where they were.
Did
I
you
think
not
they
see,
were
like,
over
a
there.
ball of light from all the different projectors, like, almost like a
No.
spotlight coming through at you?
Oh, the ball of light?
I mean, from the projector
Yeah, but
source, like the light
I
source.
think what they're doing is they're firing kind of up because you're kind of underneath them a little bit.
Okay.
So they're over you. Like, it's not firing directly into you. They're firing over, um, because of how everything's positioned and where the fountains and water is and the projectors are in comparison to where you are. Um, but it
I'm
was
just saying it seems like that might be the last show you ever see if something malfunctioned.
maybe, maybe, but it was super cool. Like, it was amazing. One bad thing though that I noticed when we were in Disneyland that I did not notice in California Adventure, Disneyland's sound sucked. Every attraction I went into, my ears felt like they were bleeding.
Hmm.
It was so loud, there was so much distortion, and it was just not enjoyable. California Adventure, on the other hand, maybe they fired their sound guy and hired somebody else, was much better. It was they were using, I think they were all electro voice speakers and flying subs and stuff at the show. There was actual bass. Disneyland had no bass. This one had, you were probably down to like 60 hertz, right? Maybe a little bit higher than that because huge space. You're outside. So Disneyland sound sucked. Universal sound was on par with California Adventure, if not better, but they're more movie focused, so it made sense. But even sometimes then Universal sound sucked, and it made you wonder, like, aren't these guys the pros? Like, shouldn't they be doing things that, like, with sound that isn't making my ears bleed? But so it was fun. You guys should go. It was, if you ever go out there and are able to do it, it's a lot of fun.
I've been to Disneyland and Disneyland, I think, right? That's the one in California.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I've been to. I don't think they have. This was back when I was in high school or whatever. I don't think they had all this fancy stuff you're talking about. But Universal, I've heard a lot of good things about. I do want to try that sometime.
Universal was super cool. I would encourage you to do the VIP thing. It's more expensive, but it's one of the other benefits is we got to skip all the lines. I felt kind of bad, but he would just like walk us in. And Mario Kart had a 2-hour. I felt really bad. Had a 2-hour wait, and then we just got right on the ride. So I'm trying to teach my kids that your time is your most valuable asset, and if you can do things to help. My wife took care of this. I had no idea what was going on, but that was great. But the VIP backlot tour was, well, I would have just paid to do that. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. That experience in and of itself. If you're into this hobby, if you're into movies, if you're into any of that, the people are amazing, and being able to experience all of that with those people is pretty cool. Because now I can see that stuff and be like, I've been there. I walked in that house. I know what that is. I use that toilet, like all that kind of stuff. So that was mine.
Did you put a piece of like a bubble gum on the set so you can watch the next show and be like, "That's my bubble gum"?
I didn't do that. I didn't. The security was like there was a security guard at each location that was watching you. So
Yeah,
it was definitely didn't do that.
led by a VIP guy and trailed by a cop. Is that what it was?
No. Oh no. All right. So the topic, Jonathan.
Well, we
You
got one
sent
more
this
thing
to me.
before we go to the topic too. But I think we ought to do a podcast with the guys that went. Maybe our little home theater crawl.
Oh, sure. You want to talk
we
about
shouldn't
that?
dive into that. Maybe we should wait till the other guys and we can do it like a podcast on that topic per se.
We can.
Let's see if they want to do that before we dive into it.
That's fine.
But suffice to say, we went to Des Moines, Iowa area, Altoona, Iowa area, and went to 5 different home theaters this last weekend too. So that was a lot of fun.
Wasn't this last weekend? It was it? 2 weekends ago. Or 3 weekends ago.
No, it was this last weekend.
Oh my God.
Wasn't it?
No, well, not this just happened weekend because I was in California. Maybe the weekend before.
The weekend before.
Was it that?
You're right. We're Wednesday, so it's throwing off my days. Yes.
Yeah. It feels like the weekend, but it's not the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do a podcast with that.
I think that'd be fun.
Okay. We'll do that. You want to talk about how I'm the snake oil king?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I have not
pull
read
up the
all
site and just read it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Do you want to?
It's not even that long of a thread, but it's just kind of amusing. It's kind of like one of those things where you find your name out there. It's only a page and a half.
Yeah, but there's a lot of posts on one page. People were fired up, I think, about this.
A couple of them.
Yeah.
Squared 80, one of our watchers here, came to your rescue, I think.
I don't know if
he defended you.
Are you sure he's a watcher?
I think I've seen him on here.
Okay, because I think it was actually I typed that, and
you're Squared 80.
No, I'm not.
Your alt account?
No, I forget it. All right, let me just pull this up on screen. So this is in reference to. Try and make this bigger. That's not.
You might have to wheel. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna do this. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. So this is in reference to a post I made. I don't even know where the post is, but I remember making this post.
I think it was an AVS forum post.
It was on AVS forum, and there was a guy talking about amplifiers, and I think somebody actually quoted it in here, so we'll get to see it. But effectively, what they're saying is that what I'm saying is lies. And it's specifically about amplifiers and how what I've said is that a good amplifier that's not intentionally coloring the sound should not be discernible from another amplifier that's not intentionally coloring the sound. Would you disagree with that, Jonathan?
No, I mean, really, we've talked about it many times on here. Once you get past a certain threshold, it's all bench numbers because our human ears can't pick it up. But there are, to hear what you're saying, amplifiers that intentionally color tube amps, for instance, intentionally color the sound. They make it warmer, they add distortion, they roll off the highs, that kind of thing, to different flavors, like to different effect purposely. And we've never said that tube amplifiers sound the same. That's definitely intentionally different.
And I'm sure you could do it in electronics too, if you wanted to intentionally do something.
And they do have stuff like that, like the Marantz HDAMs do that, HDAM modules.
Yeah.
But you can turn it on and off on Marantz, for instance. So yeah.
And that what this is talking about is just that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I don't know how, maybe you can enlighten me, Jonathan, on how this makes me a snake oil salesman.
That's why it was kind of amusing to me. I think the terminology is being thrown around wrong. But he's basically saying that you're saying all amps sound the same and there's no reason to buy anything over an AVR in every case. And that's not what you said. I mean, we've done this podcast for years together now. I know how you feel about this. You know how I feel about this. They're taking stuff you said out of context to kind of make you look worse than you are.
So here's the post. This is the post I made. I'll read it.
I will quote Ryan to avoid any out of context.
Yeah. And I'm actually, somebody was saying that I said something and then I said I didn't say that. And this was my response. The better the amp, not the better the sound. You get an amp when you need an amp. They're not magic like you seem to think they are. You're on a forum for objective and scientific approaches into AV, and you seem to be on the side of voodoo. So maybe I was a little aggressive there, potentially. I was. An amp is needed when it's needed. An AVR has a finite amount of power. If you need more than that because of SPL distance, sensitivity, etc., then yes, an amp would help. If not, internal amps in an AVR have gotten good enough that you're not gaining anything. So this, I remember now the context. This shows you how little I've actually read this. So I'm virgin eyes going into this. The comment was how a dedicated amplifier will improve sound over an AVR. And I just said, no, that's not going to happen unless you need what an amplifier offers. If you're playing a speaker at 5 watts, an internal amplifier in an AVR is not going to have any problem with that. And the Synad and all of it doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to hear it.
Right.
So that
stuff does matter, but it's at a level that's just too high to matter.
Yes.
So
it's measurable. I have no doubt about that. It's been shown. Like, you can absolutely measure the difference. But you're not going to hear
put
it.
a little point on this to make it very clear what we're saying. And Gene from Audioholics has the same conversation. He said in one of his reviews, a Yamaha review, that people can't really hear over, I think it was a 70 or 72.
70.
I don't know. I have to go back and look
And
at it.
Amir says the same thing.
70 or 72 synad is kind of where human ears stop being able to tell. And just to give you a little bit of a safe benefit, we know, at least as best we can tell, Ryan and I have done experimentation with amps that have mid 70s synad, and we couldn't tell that from amplifiers that had well over 100 synad. Like AB, direct switching, fast, like no trickery, just level matched. They sound identical. But there are caveats, and I think Ryan's trying to speak to a couple little caveats here.
I do.
But just generally speaking, if you're not overdriving the amp and they're not made to change the sound, you're not going to hear the difference. It's not like, oh, I just got an amp and I'm listening to 85 dB and all of a sudden everything's so clear. That's not how this works at all. It's just not.
Nope. It is not how it works. I had something I was going to say and then I forgot. But we'll carry on. Unless you have very sensitive speakers, and it could be lower than this. I just said 100 dB. You will not even hear the noise floor difference, because there is a noise floor difference with these amplifiers. Like, your noise floor is going to change, but you're not going to hear that if the speaker's not sensitive enough for that to be shown. The hissing, the noise that's going to come when the amplifier's not or the speaker's not playing anything. Every amplifier is going to have a native noise floor. I don't know why they're picking on Buckeye. I think it's because that's what I was recommending. But the funny thing about picking on Buckeye is his amplifiers, the modules that he used from Hypex and Purify, are actually some of the cleanest amplifier modules that you can get. So this context and argument would have made, I think, a little bit more sense, even though sense isn't the right word, but maybe sense that it would be brought up if it wasn't on Hypex and Purify, because those are really good amplifiers. It's not like I'm saying it's a whatever. What was that little 25 watt amplifier that we did at your
a little 20 watt amplifier, T-amp, LePai, LEPAI?
Yeah. That we used at the amplifier comparison several years ago. What was that, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
When I was trying to pick amplifiers, because I was trying to figure out, like, does this happen? Is this something that people can discern? Because I had this question. So we laid out a bunch of amplifiers, and Jonathan has this doohickey.
Let me go get it. It's real funny.
He has a doohickey that allowed us to switch back and forth, and people, they're going to see this, and I guarantee what they're going to say is that doohickey was stopping whatever the sound of the amplifier was doing. So just, he's going to get the doohickey. I don't even know what else to call it. It's a bunch of light switches, effectively. It's a bunch of copper. And it allows you to flip back and forth what amplifier you're listening to. So we did this blind where I think my wife actually plugged everything in, so we had no idea what amplifier was what. And we were able to switch back and forth, sending the same signal from an all-channel stereo output into this device, and we were able to turn on and off different amplifiers going to the same speakers. All right, show the doohickey.
Yeah, so this is, this was one we tested. It's just a LePai T-amp. They're like,
that's the little amplifier.
$20. Here's the power supply. It literally came with a Vonage, like, little wall-wart thing. And depending on the speakers, you can't even tell the difference with this one and like a super high-end amp. Now, if you're running something that's got a real low impedance, you're definitely going to hear the difference.
Would show it when we start turning them up.
So yeah, a difficult to drive load will start bringing it to bear.
So this is not us saying that if you start turning up volumes, that amps won't run out of gas at different times. They absolutely will. Like, there is a difference objectively between amplifiers, what their capabilities are, what they can do, what their noise floors are, what their gain is. There are differences. But if you're just cruising along at what I'll call normal volumes,
living room listening volumes,
where you're listening to just a few watts,
yep,
you are not going to notice a difference if they are level matched. It is not going to happen. I have been there. Others have been there. I have done this at M-Wave. It is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of almost disappointing. It's not like something that we're proud of. It's like something that you come to realization as you do this testing, like the blind testing specifically done. That one he's talking about there was double blind, and we have a thread on ABS forum on it. It's really interesting to read. specifically because we chose amps that were kind of like mid-grade budget audiophile type
Not all
stuff.
of them.
And then one, like the best at the time, it was the best amp that ASR had ever measured. It was a Benchmark Halo. And was it like 100? I'm trying to remember. It's been a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. Benchmark AH something or whatever. Do you remember the model?
HP3 or something like that.
So that one had like the best. It was the best amplifier ASR had ever measured. And then we compared it to like a Behringer A800, which is like a $250 amplifier. That's kind of just a budget audiophile amplifier. We had a Hafler amp that was like a 1980s amp that was refurbed, and we had a Crown XLS 1502. Was that right? Something like that. So 4 amps, and we were testing them.
Was one of PS Audios in that, or did we not use that?
I don't think in that particular one. But I mean, for what it's worth, that wasn't the only one we've done. That was just the first double blind one that we'd done, or that I'd done. We've done, the Kansas City group's done 3 or 4 of these amp comparisons. They all have come out the same way, where people just can't tell when you're flipping the switches and they're level matched. You just have nothing to go on.
Well, then we did the speaker cables a couple years ago, and doubters came and they said, "Hey, I can tell," and then they picked the coat hanger.
And there was a literal coat hangers in there.
I had a coat hanger,
like just cheapest coat hanger you can believe. Cut
and it was even electrical taped to something else.
I think they were electrical taped together. The coat hangers. And one of the contenders in that contest was like several $1,000 speaker wire, wasn't it? Didn't you guys have some premium speaker wire in that?
$8,000.
Oh man, unbelievable! And you had a not just a few guys. You had a rooms full of guys doing these tests, and people couldn't tell. They just can't tell.
And it was a full signal chain. Like, I even took out the idea of, well, if you have a switch, that's going to cause problems. So I used entirely separate signal chains, entirely separate speakers. And we were using a Lazy Susan, the same model speakers that were calibrated the same. They had the same level matched SPL. And we used a Lazy Susan to put those speakers in the exact same position. So when we flipped speaker wires, I was just moving the Lazy Susan in order to remove variables because I knew that was going to come back. So we've done these tests, and we do these tests not to prove it, but because we want to know. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and spout this stuff if I haven't walked the walk. And Jonathan, I know you're the same, and I think that's why we get along so well, is we want to know, and we want to know objectively, and we want to know through our experiences that what we're saying is what we've experienced. And if it turns out in the future that we're wrong, I'm happy to change my tune. I'm happy if somebody can show me in a controlled environment X, Y, or Z and how I can pick something out. I'm happy to change it. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. None.
And there's several things that I think are worth calling out too. Like when we do these amp comparisons, the whole group of enthusiasts helps set up. It's not like there's some sort of black curtain thing going on where one guy's trying to make a point.
No.
We're all sitting there doing the setup. We're all making sure everything's as equitable as possible, taking SPL measurements, just making sure that everything's fit and finish. And then you do the listening test, and we have it. In this case, like we had your wife switch the input, so we didn't know which one was which with that double blind. Like we just didn't even know which one was which, and we're flipping as fast as you want to between 2 amps. It was double pole light pole switches, very low impedance, measured with a multimeter, so not anything to worry about there. And just as fast as you could flip the switches, you could switch between amps. There was less than a half a dB difference between all of them, which was the smallest we could make it because we were using a Marantz flagship Pre-Pro, and the 0.5 dB was the what it could do. But I mean, just like I'm telling you, between a $250 amplifier and a $3,000 amplifier, whatever that thing was, the benchmark, nobody in our group could even have the slightest idea. Now, a couple things that were funny, people would be like really sure, like, I think I can tell a difference now. I think I like amplifier B or whatever, right? But over the course of time, it was always revealed that would just never be reliable. It was never the same one that they liked that they thought was B. And there's a funny story there we'll go into it, but just for a second before I do that, what we kind of came to realize, I think, is through the course of this amplifier testing and other ones that we've done, is that like when there's a favorite point in a song that comes up or something, or maybe a dynamic part in the song itself, you're drawn to that particular section. You think that's the amp you like, but it's not the amp you like. It's that part of the song that you recognize or has familiarity or something, you know, that brings you home. There's all kinds of placebo and wanting to get your money's worth and feeling like you got your money worth and kind of a pride of ownership that comes with some of the stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But when the chips are down and you've got a blind test going on, we just haven't seen it pan out where people can tell the difference. And I'll tell you one funny story, and there's a second one that could follow it. But the one time we did one of these tests was one time when we did these tests, we thought there was a big difference, and we were thinking like, this is revolutionary. Like
you had the switcher. Jonathan had the switcher.
Well, okay, so you're thinking about this most recent one. I'm talking about an earlier one, and we'll go to the most recent one too. In an earlier one, we were thinking like, these are notably different. Like it's not worlds different, but the guys on the forum must be right. Like there must be difference in amps. And we went through hours worth of testing, and everyone had their votes, and they had kind of started falling into tiers. Like people like certain ones. Well, what we had figured out is in that particular one, we had used an Onkyo Pre-Pro, a 5508, which is a flagship, to do the switching. And so the channel pairs, just like we did with the Marantz flagship, the channel pairs were lined out, like left played one amp, center played 1 amp, right played 1 amp, that kind of thing, right? And so that's how you divided out the signal chain, and then you put it in like an all channel stereo or something where every channel was playing the exact same thing. Well, what we figured out in that test is that early on we had shorted out the power, and when the Onkyo 5508 Pre-Pro came back on, nobody was the wiser that Audyssey had re-engaged, even though we'd taken deliberate means to disable it. Audyssey had come back on. So what we were listening to was Audyssey's internal calibration for each of the different speaker channels, and that was making the sound presentation obviously different because it was auto EQ calibrating for each of the different speakers. So each amp therefore sounded different. And so we were thinking like, how can this be? And we were checking all our configs, and we realized Audyssey had flipped back on. So we turned off Audyssey and repeated the same test, and people like were ready to leave. We'd already spent hours doing this, and we were all excited. And after about an hour and a half, people were like, there's no difference. This is a huge
note that you got excited when you could tell a difference. Like
that
was cool.
Yeah. So that was one of our tests. And then a more recent one, the one that we were talking about with the benchmark amp, we had the switchboard, and one of the guys, Lou, was just real confident that he could tell the difference.
We were all confident. It wasn't just Lou. We were
Lou was the most confident, and they were just wrong. Like I'm sitting behind the switchboard kind of laughing. So then I started just to really rub it in. I put a blanket over the switchboard so they couldn't even see what switches I was doing, and they wouldn't know when I switched. And I would say, and I was switching for a while, and then I just started doing the same one, like off and on, the exact same one, like not even switching. And I did that for like 10 minutes, and they were raving, just poetic about how much more they liked B than C, or didn't like D and liked A. And it was the same dang amp over and over and over again. So it was just like,
well, the same
one
that
comes the entire day, and then that experiment at the end just proved it all was a muck.
The same one that comes up with that Bob tells the story about was at M-Wave 23 when we're supposed to be demoing what has been called the distortion chip in the
HDAM modules and Marantz.
In the Marantz.
Yeah.
And can you hear the difference? So we're going to turn it on, we're going to turn it off. We're going to continually play sound, we're going to turn it on and turn it off. And the idea was raise your hand when you think there's a change. And so Bob sets all this up, the music starts playing, and Bob's in the back of the room so nobody can see him switching.
Using the web interface so nobody can even see.
Nobody can tell. And there's no screen. It's just speakers. And so nothing transpires for a while. Nobody raises their hand. And then after a time, somebody raises their hand. And it's kind of that mob mentality thing. Once the dam breaks and one person raises their hand, it's like, oh, that guy heard this. Well, I'm going to raise my hand, and I'm going to raise my Then the hands start going. And
they're starting to go in more unison too, because I was in the room at the time doing the same thing.
And Bob eventually, everything stops and he goes, what do you guys think? And they start telling, oh, I can tell the difference. I can do this and that. He goes, guys, I've been having a conversation for the past X amount of minutes. I haven't even been switching. Nothing's been happening.
You said when you guys were not raising your hand at all, I'd switched multiple times and you guys never raised your hand. And then you started raising your hand and I got distracted in this conversation. I haven't been switching the entire time you've been raising your hands back and forth. The mob mentality is absolutely right. Because then you see someone raise their hand out of your corner eye and you think, oh, I think I might hear that. Maybe I hear that. So you raise your hand and then the next guy's doing the same thing. And it ends up being where there's like a couple little hands like tentatively going up, to all of a sudden people are kind of going up in unison, and it was nothing changing. It's so placebo, man. It's so strong.
And I think I want to make this clear that Jonathan and I, we try, and when we talk about this stuff, the only way that we'll talk about things confidently is if we've done it, right? We've done these things. We've tried to do it and run these experiments so that we can provide this information to all of you, because these experiments can be very difficult to get together and run. There's a lot of variables and they're a pain in the butt. I enjoy doing them. And Jonathan, I think you'll agree, they're a pain in a lot of
it's time.
A lot of time and complexity and thinking through things, but I think it's worth. That's not me complaining. It's just they're difficult. Which makes sense to why people don't do these on their own. But it's also very important to. I want to highlight this before we jump back into the forum thread again. To make sure when you do this stuff that you do it blind, at least single blind, better double blind. So you have no idea even how it's set up. Because your subjective biases will come out. No question. It happens to me. It happens to Jonathan. It happens to everyone. There is no question. If you think you can tell the difference, it will get in the way. There's no way around it. It's human nature. There's no way to stop it. It's going to happen. So you have to take that out of the equation. And you have to be willing to run a scientific experiment the correct way. It's like if you're reading some scientific journal and they do something blatant they don't do something blind, like a placebo test, it throws the results, and most people will say, yeah, that result's not valid because they know. But why do people dispel that same thing in audio? It baffles me to why that doesn't apply here. But anyway, enough about that horse.
So here we did do this, MW, very specifically. We did this. I'm going to find that link and I'll give you a reference to it. And we're not saying that all amps sound identical at their extremes or at their limits or at like when you push them to their absolute limits, they'll definitely sound different. But what we're talking about is competent amplifier versus competent amplifier, where the frequency response is just meant and designed to be flat.
Let's not say competent. Let's say neutral.
Okay.
I don't think a competent would imply that an amplifier that's intentionally coloring the sound is not a good amplifier. That doesn't mean it's bad. We're comparing an amplifier that is designed to be
a flat frequency.
What comes in, what goes out, or as close as possible.
Yeah. And I think the idea just being that, like, hey, for something ASR measures and gives a thumbs up on that's $200 or $300 and has a SYNAD score, say above 72, 75. I'm going to say 75 just to be absolutely safe. If you're in that territory and you're not driving some sort of notably difficult speaker, you're not going to hear a difference. And even something, this is worth talking about just briefly. I had some JTR 212 HTs for a while in my room, and this little amplifier, this thing could drive them to reference without any distortion or lack of clarity. Now, those speakers are 101 dB sensitive. Reference only calls for about 105 watts, and you have a little bit loss of distance and so forth. My room was small back in that time when I was using this, but this is 20 watts per channel, and it's been rated by ASR. Like he says, it's not bad for the money. At any rate, it would drive those speakers to reference and sound real clean because they're 101 dB at 1 watt. So it just doesn't take very much power to get to reference. So it's not like, because distortion profile is still okay with this, I think it's like low 70s. It's not a bad little amp. Now, I'm not going to put it against the Benchmark. I'm not going to put it against the Crown. I'm not even going to put it against a Behringer. It's not that class. But at low listening volumes with low power draw, you can't hear the difference. That's what we're saying.
We did. But when we were doing a lot of these tests on Martin Logan 15A.
We were testing this on $25,000 speakers.
Now 30-some thousand.
And I remember distinctly some of the guys saying, like, all right, I can tell this was the one amp we could tell the difference in that. When we brought it in at the end, this is the one we could actually hear a difference on at the volumes we're listening to, which was just normal listening volumes. We weren't even pumping any of these things to max, but just at normal listening volumes, this is the one we could tell. And I remember some of the guys saying, like, I can't believe it's just that small of a difference. Like, I can hear a difference, but it's a small difference, and that's a $20 amp.
Yeah. And the reason for that is the Martin Logans they're difficult to draw. Their impedance curves
drops below 1.
It's hard. They're hard speakers. So
1 ohm.
It was causing that amp to run out of gas. It didn't have the juice to be able to do it.
And totally fair enough for a $20 amp. But yeah. But like, we did this same amp with Klipsch speakers, like Klipsch towers with 8-inch subs, in one of our previous comparisons, and nobody could tell the difference between this and an $800 Emotiva on Clips drivers at normal listening volumes with fast switching. The same sort of thing we're talking about. Like, they couldn't tell the difference. That blew my mind. And it was the same for me. I'm not saying I was different. It just blew my mind.
Okay. So carrying on here. There you go. I do not have a controlling interest. It is unfortunate.
I mean, the very fact that some of these guys are just clowning on Dylan with Buckeye amps kind of gives you the bent of the thread to begin with, because ASR, and like you're seeing here, they'll also talk down ASR. ASR has measured those Buckeye amps to be extremely competent, extremely well designed, very low distortion, very well designed. So, like, for them to be clowning on it just tells you all you need to know, probably.
So then they bring up op amps, which Dylan does offer different op amps, but he'll say that he doesn't think it provides any notable difference. This comment makes me laugh, because I don't think Jonathan, myself, or Dylan would ever say that we know everything. I don't. In any stretch of capacity. We're simply speaking from the experiences that we've had, which are the learning opportunities that we've had, which any scientist, I think, would say, based on the experimentation they've done, that is what they've come to know. And that's what we're relaying to all of you. So this is an interesting comment, because I feel like it implies that he knows everything, which is interesting. My take on snake oil, I haven't read these comments, might be in the minority. The people marketing, selling, and even reviewing media are much more responsible for creating snake oil than the product itself. Assembling a complete system where 95% component is extracted is very difficult to achieve. This is where the dealer could be 100% honest in guiding the potential buyer, but honesty will cost them a quick profit. So the interesting part is, if they knew me, they would know that this isn't true, that I would never do that.
So HJDCA, it says all those amps can sound different. Yeah, certainly they can if their design parameter is to sound different. But if their design parameter is to sound the same and their SYNAD score is above 75, humans can't tell the difference even if it's measurable. That's what we're saying.
Where was the comment that you said?
Squared 80 came back and kind of defended you in the way. And like I say, he's somebody that knows us. We've seen him around. So he was defending you.
See, I love comments like this because they provide no context into how the test was done. If you read this in a medical journal or something that you felt was actually impacting your well-being, you would never let something like this be an okay test or an okay opinion, because you'd question everything of how it was done. But for some reason, this is okay in our space. This is said to be, oh yeah, I can jump on that. I can hear the difference. When everything is subjective, you can see everything, and
they're not doing quick switching. They're just like, play one for a half hour, play the 1X one for a half hour while you drink your wine and have no audio memory whatsoever, and think like, yeah, this one's better. So it's $2,000 more. It's better. You can't even, like Ryan said earlier in the podcast, you can't even control those thoughts. They'll sneak in. The only way to do this is with immediate switching, like not quick switching, immediate switching.
A great example of this is when we did the LS12000 against QB1000 comparison, and we had them side by side, and you could visually tell that there was a difference. It's like looking at a measurement. Like, I can tell that's different. There is a difference. Mm-hmm. And this is, Jonathan and I are not saying there is not a difference. What it comes down to be is that if you left the room and I turned one of those on and I came back in, I'd have no idea which one it was.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know. You'd have no clue what it was, because our eyes and our ears are not sensitive enough, and our auditory and video memories aren't good enough. They're very poor to be able to pick up on this stuff.
I have a funny example of that, just to kind of put some spin on that for funness. When Sheldon got back in our early days, Sheldon got a seat in submersive, and he got a second one, and we were all super excited to hear his second seat in submersive. And like from one double 15s to two double 15s. So we planned a movie night, and we all came over and we watched the movie, and everyone's raving about like the bass was better and this was more enjoyable. It was a good upgrade type thing. Later that night, Sheldon called us back and said, "Hey guys, somehow that second one was not even on during the movie. Like that was totally unintentional. We just heard it with just my original single seat in submersive." And we all just kind of like chuckled, because what else can you do? We had thought we had more bass power, and there was another sub there, and the 4 or 5 guys that were there just assumed that it was there and liked it more because we knew it was there.
So I love comments like this. If everything sounds the same, then all of these folks that subscribe to this theory should have the bare minimum of equipment, aka the very least expensive equipment. They often do not. Even the ASR guys have expensive DACs and amps. It's like they don't understand the reasoning for this.
You can still appreciate craftsmanship and quality and attention to detail without even necessarily needing it to sound different. Like some people like a well-engineered thing, especially in the hobby space.
Well, and I have one sitting on my desk. I have an X Saber Pro, which was for a long time and still one of the best measuring DACs on the market. And the reason I got it is because of the confidence to me of what is going in is what is going out. There is no coloration. There is nothing, or as little as possible, that is imparted onto the sound. And for speakers, it's kind of the same thing. You want to make sure that the speaker is capable of doing it. And it goes back to that T-amp that you've got. I can't ask the T-amp to play reference level volume.
Not at all.
It's not going to do it. Even on the Swans, and the Swans are 117 dB sensitive for the tweeters, but so it might do it on the tweeter, but on the woofer, no way. It's not going to happen. It's going to run out of gas, and you will hear it. So you need good equipment to be able to replicate this stuff. That's like saying, well, guys, I'm trying to put speakers at a pro venue, right, for a Lady Gaga concert. We might as well use 2-inch drivers to be able to send audio all the way down the amphitheater. That comments like that make no sense to me, because
what are your woofers on your Black Swans? What's their sensitivity?
I think they're like 100 and 101.
You might be surprised, man. If we list like at normal listening volumes, I'm not saying like crank it up, make the bass go for its one. But if you want to just listen at normal listening volume, say 85 dB, 95 dB in the room, I bet you could have this on and you'd never even know it.
I'd never know. I'm saying at reference, balls to the wall,
sure,
or hammering as fast as hard as we can go, you'll notice. But normal listening volumes, no way. I wouldn't be able to tell.
Because they don't have any kind of weird impedance on them either, do they? Aren't they pretty?
Not that I'm aware of. They're very flat, and you can look at the
pretty reasonable.
They don't show anything weird.
Yeah, that's where you run into trouble a lot of times with these cheaper amps, is they don't handle the impedance swings. Drivers are not like a flat impedance typically. They have big swings. And some of the amps, like if it drops real low, they'll struggle with certain parts of those frequencies, create clipping and anomalies in the sound, and that's where you get into trouble. So just like what we were talking about with those Martin Logans that were dropped below 1 ohm impedance at 20,000 hertz, that's really hard on this little cheap amp. It can't do 1 ohm, so it fails out. It makes a difference in sound. You can hear it.
Where did that comment go? Oh. We only hear bass. So I guess they don't care about bass. Just take the woofers out of their speakers then.
That's the same guy that's the original poster.
Yeah,
like, why is it if Ryan Charpentier means nothing to him, why is he bothering making a post on this forum? Ryan, you've offended him somehow. That's why you are something to him.
I think I offended. I think he's the OP that I made that comment to in AVS. I feel like a lot of this is done. I feel like we're starting a war. but is done as a justification to rationalize one's own spending. Like, I'm going to buy this expensive stuff because I think I can hear the difference. And I don't care. Like, that's great. You're going on your journey. Whatever. That's fine. I don't think that's possible. And we can argue about it, and but that's fine. If that's what you enjoy. I just feel like a lot of it comes across as rationalization.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've been around those circles very much, but I've been in some of them. Like we went to a speaker shootout one time where one of the vendors had their cables all on trestles and all that kind of thing, like in the room as far as the little competition. And he was talking about how speaker cables benefit from being up off the floor and all that stuff, which I consider that snake oil. To me, that's where snake oil is, not like what we're talking about here. So there's that post from Squared 80. Read that one. That one more justifies for what we've been saying for the years.
And he says it pretty well. He says, to clarify what they said, since you're generalizing, they stated objective facts that human hearing cannot discern differences in SINAD scores above the mid 70s. Couple that to the fact that we don't live in 1973, and even today's low-end amplifiers found in AVRs have SINAD scores well above that range. We all know tube amps and some other purposely change the sound slightly, but that is few and far between. You could compare a $10,000 DAC and one in some big box store AVR, and almost nobody would be able to tell the difference. People fall victim to the confirmation bias and priming, so their opinions get skewed before they even hear anything. Human nature, but that doesn't change the science of sound or human hearing. And he's right. It summarizes exactly what we're trying to get across. Yes. We could have read that comment, which I should have at the very beginning, and just said, all right, stream over, and just turn everything off. Because Squared's right. That's
because he knows us and he's heard us and he wasn't taking something out of context. That's why. The other guys that are just sounding off here don't know what we've been saying and haven't heard us, don't know.
Well, I don't think that. I think they know what we're saying, and it's what Squared said, and they don't agree with it.
But if nothing else, they're taken out of context, because what he quoted you as saying is not even what you like. The way this thread is worded, it's not even what you would say you would believe. So, like, you didn't say anything wrong in the original quote he posted, and he has big problems with that. Like, by you saying that an AVR will do as well as an amplifier for most use cases, like, he's taking big offense to that. But that's the case. And why is it the case? Because of these things we've talked about here.
And this is, I guess this is one of those contexts that's out of these comments that's out of context, is that he's failing to look at the other things that I've said. And that is, there are specific reasons to buy an amplifier. Mm-hmm. You don't just buy one to buy one. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do it's not going to help you. I could plug, I bet you, we could drive the Black Swans easily off of this. If I plugged a little headphone amplifier off into this and got like 1 watt.
I don't know how many millivolts that phone thing puts out. There would be, like, some of those little headphone amplifiers can put out actual, like, a watt or two. A watt or two would drive those Black Swans to 101 dB like the Woofers rated. 101 dB off a watt. That's louder than you'd want to listen to, at least for, like, music listening.
But you would run out of gas. And when it did run out of gas, you would want a bigger amplifier because you're asking too much of said amplifier. So there are absolutely reasons that you would need an amplifier. I just don't like, and this goes back to, I'm not trying to pick fights. It just reminds me of a video, and we're pretty passionate about this topic, which is why we've been talking about it for a while. There was a video that's specified by a content creator, Jonathan, I think you know which one I'm talking about, that said, an amplifier is you're going to benefit if you put a dedicated amplifier into your system. And there was a testing that went back and forth, but it wasn't quick switched and it wasn't blind. And it led to a lot of potentially false conclusions. Now, we weren't there as part of this test, but it showcases that if you don't account for variables, there are a lot of unknowns that you're allowing to creep in and potentially impact the results of what you're trying to convey.
And we've said it for a long time, but by default, the gain structure on most of your boutique type, like if you buy an Emotiva amp, for instance, the gain structure on that's going to be stronger than the AVR. It's going to be by default louder. So if you just plug up the Emotiva and you don't run any SPL adjustments, like to level set everything back the way it was, all of a sudden your speakers are going to be significantly louder at the same volumes. louder equals better in a lot of people's ears when they just hear it, all things being equal. And they think like, wow, my system just came to life. I'm hearing things I normally don't hear at the same volume level. Well, that's because you're 6 dB louder, or, level set it. It's truly like AVR to Emotiva amp. Comment all over the forums like, least made my speakers come alive. You can go find dozens of threads. If you level set that Emotiva amp with the SPL trims on the channels, you will not be able to tell the difference between the AVR and the Emotiva on most consumer speakers. Like if you had an 89 dB sensitive per 1 watt or a 92 dB sensitive for 1 watt, that's what I'm talking about, like that world of speaker. Now, if you're doing an 82 dB sensitive, like audiophile speaker that's just really low sensitivity, sure. That's the kind of thing Ryan's talking about, where you're going to probably want an amplifier because you need quite a bit more power just to obtain, like a louder listening volume. But something that's like 92 dB sensitive, AVRs are perfectly adequate for. To reference, which is what we're talking about.
Unless
you have a huge room, or unless you have a very difficult to drive speaker,
or you have a noise floor, like a very sensitive speaker, and you can hear noise floor. There's reasons.
Speaker, yeah, there's outlier cases on all sides.
But for the majority of people, an AVR is fine.
Mm-hmm.
As Squared said, it ain't 1973 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Amplifiers and technology it's gotten really good. Could you tell the difference previously and years past? Absolutely. Can you now on properly made amplifiers? I guess that brings up the subjective opinion of what is a properly made amplifier.
Sure. That's why I use the word competent. In my mind, it's just a flat frequency response, say between 20 hertz and 20,000 kilohertz. You're designing for that. There's not a lot of crosstalk between the channels. The SYNAD score is nice, like say 80 or above, 75 or above, realistically is fine. That's fine. Like say it puts out 70 or 100 watts, that's going to be okay for the majority of situations.
I agree. Not very many questions. I guess people were enamored with our stupidity.
Well, I think they probably agree with us or know this, or they wouldn't still be subscribers after all this time, since this is something we've talked about a lot over the years.
I'm just imagining them getting on Audiogon. These guys are idiots. These guys are, and jumping into that, which is fine. I mean, if you disagree with us, disagree with us. The other funny part that I have about this, and I'm not going to belittle these guys because I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's fine. I have my own, they have theirs. What I find funny and interesting at the same time is a lot of times when you get groups that are existing more in the subjective space, they have a tendency to attack anybody that differs from their opinion or calls them out and says that they're wrong. And I had one highlighted. I won't read it, but it's just interesting that just because I differed and said, no, I don't think that's what happened. Didn't name call, didn't do any of that. I mean, I'm being name called all over this thread. And I laugh at it because
you did say he was voodoo. You did say.
I guess. No, I didn't say
witch
he
doctor.
was. I said he's believing in it. I didn't say he was. You're believing in it.
I'm elevating it.
He called Buckeye Cuckeye. Which,
oh.
Whatever. And I guess I'm just an average home theater dude that's a snake oil salesman, even though I'm talking people out of buying expensive stuff, trying to save them money.
I would really like if you could be some sort of detailed analysis to know how long these guys have been in the hobby. Like
I think
what
they've been in for a long time.
If they've done any like legitimately like competent comparisons, like side by side, immediate switching, fast switching comparisons. Now, if this is if that forum is all full of tube amp guys,
I think it is,
then they're probably justified in what
they're saying.
Evidently
not all of them.
If they're familiar with only tube amps and that's what their world is, have at it. You can make your tube amp sound different just by buying a different tube, right? They have tons of different tubes. They're all voiced differently. Slide a different tube, your amp sounds differently. That's not the world we're talking about. That world is different for amps, but that's all subjective preference, and that's not the world that we're talking about.
Yep. I do have an amp that'll sound different, Jonathan. I'm kidding. I don't even know one that would sound different.
So MW is asking like, what kind of amps have we tested with this? I've done this test I think 4 times now. We've done everything from an AVR comparison to iNukes to Behringer NXs to A4000 by Behringer to this Halo benchmark to the Hafler to the Crowns. We did Crown XLS 402s, 202s, 802s, 1502s. We've done Emotiva amps. We've done this little T amp. We've done a lot of different amps, everything we can get our hands on effectively. And this makes people jump off a cliff too when we say this, but if you turn off all your auto EQ on your AVRs like Pioneer, Onkyo, Denon, Marantz, if you turn off all the auto EQ features and you level match, you won't be able to tell the difference there either. And people go on and on and on about how much different AVRs sound, but that's all related to your auto EQ. They'll sound worlds different with auto EQ enabled, or your little bells and whistles and features, or your HDAM modules turned on. Like there are differences there. But if you turn all that stuff off and you just have a nice like flat response that it's designed to do naturally, good luck, man.
We've done it.
And let's go. Let's bet some money, you and I, and I'll walk away with a little bit extra in my pocket. That's for sure.
Oh, you and I have done it multiple times.
Yeah. It's just what it is.
And it's always the auto EQ. And even then, it's
not even reliable auto Q to auto EQ.
No,
we've talked about this before. I've got a handful of Audyssey microphones from my different receivers here. I've got like 5 different Audyssey mics, right? They all have a little bit different flavor. And we've talked about this before. Here's 3 of them in my hand right here. I've measured them.
Jonathan's a collector of Audyssey.
There's a plus or minus by a loud tolerance. This is allowed. Like Audyssey says, okay, this is acceptable. Plus or minus variance of 2.5 dB. Well, that makes for a 5 dB swing. So can you tell the difference when treble is 5 dB louder than on one system or another? Absolutely. So if you have within spec a 5 dB swing that's allowed, you can't even really grade like, okay, the Denon has better sound than the Yamaha, because you're really talking about the microphone that calibrated it. Do you like the Denon mic better than the Yamaha? And that's not even to mention their little custom EQ, like their house sound or their curves that they're tailoring for. That's just talking about variance in mass-produced, inexpensive mics that weigh into the equation. So, like, here's another pet peeve of mine. You watch guys go on and I just speaks to the greenness of their knowledge level, and that's fine. But I also fault them a little bit for not trying to figure this out and being in the hobby for so long. When somebody comes through and says like, oh, the Denon 3800 is a little bit leaner, I like the A10H because it sounded a little bit fuller and all that kind of stuff, and then they're going on and making like a channel thing about it. If you just switch the mic, man, use the Denon A10H mic with the Denon 3800 and vice versa, that sound, because the algorithm's the same on both those, the sound will follow the mic. And I've proved that out. That's how I even stumbled upon this, because I had a slew of Denons at the same time, and I always liked one mic better than, or I always liked the sound of one better than the others. And I was thinking like, why would this be? So I just happenstance used the microphone that it came with I think it was a Denon 4520, the mic that I liked. I used that microphone with my Onkyo, and then later with my 7200A, and then now with the AV10, I use that same mic because it has the house curve built in that I like. And so the sound followed the different units, even from other manufacturers, because it's the mic that I like. Like the mic had the bass boost, like at the 5 dB plus was on the bass inside, and the treble had a little roll off. And so if I was going to use Audyssey, that's the mic I use. People don't know that, and they attribute that to this particular model's not quite as good as this model. They're going to be the same. You turn all those bells and whistles off and you just let them run raw, they're going to sound the same.
Yep.
So now we're getting a little animated here, but that's the snake oil stuff, man. And it's been in the hobby for a lot of years. So we're just telling you as it is. And this is objectively provable. Like I have a thread on AVS showing the mic measurement.
Snake oil, because they don't know at that point. So I don't necessarily. Snake oil to me comes across as spouting something that to be in your soul not true, or it's objectively not true, and regardless of what you're told or explained, you're still going to be on that. So I think that's naivety.
Okay.
Ignorance. Because a lot of those guys, I don't think they're out for malice. I think it's just that's what they think is true, and that's okay.
But I feel like if you've been in a hobby for say 10 or 20 years and you don't know that, you haven't experimented with that, how does that happen?
Because not everybody's favorite movies, Jonathan, are test tones like
Well,
you.
I mean, don't you got to tinker a little bit if you love this hobby? Like, isn't that part of the game?
Yeah, you would think, but
I feel like a lot of this stuff that gets brought up over and over and over again ad nauseum. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm not as active on AVS Forum as I have been. I've got 16,000 posts there. I used to be super active, but it's like rinse and repeat. It's like the same arguments, the same tired arguments get brought up again and again and again. And so you go in there and you put your little thing like, here, read this shootout, read this shootout, read this shootout. And then, maybe a person pays attention to it, maybe they don't, but the same questions asked the next day. And it's like no traction forward.
I think it's people's
with the
unwillingness, inability or unwillingness to research and to fact find and to ask.
Even do it themselves, even just testing themselves.
I don't have any knowledge on this, so this is just opinion, guys. So we're getting into kind of just a conversation here. I don't have any knowledge on this. But to me, a lot of that is social media, and it's provided everybody a soapbox that they can stand on and spout. And so you can become an expert with very little experience because you don't have to be vetted. So you're able to talk. I mean, we're kind of that way. We haven't been vetted, sort of. I mean, I work professionally in the industry. I know a lot of, and have conversations and help other people professionally in the industry. Help write recommended practices in CEDIA and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know.
Let me show you something just to kind of cement that, because I don't like just saying stuff and not having people understand where it's coming from. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
This is 2 of my Audyssey mics compared. Look at the difference here. That's 5 dB worth of treble difference at the 10 to 20 kHz range. You think that's not noticeable? How about a couple 2 or 3 dB around 2K? That's noticeable. Like that's how the mic's measured. And that's within spec. So if you get a mic that's out of spec, or you get a different company mic, and they're not trying to follow the same house curve, like you can see where this kind of goes off the reservation. But this isn't hard to like troubleshoot or figure out or do. It's
Massimo,
just
promoters of snake oil.
All right, that's that.
But that's a great showcase of the differences and how same mic position, nothing changed, just different microphones, and that leads to that outcome. But if you don't know, you don't know. And so you get on and be like, oh, this is why this difference is happening. And I think a big part of that is because it's the easiest to understand. You grab onto it, it's the easiest to understand. That must be it. Again, that's an opinion. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. Anything else about this topic?
Nah, we beat this dead horse together.
We beat this into the ground.
3 years. Like this isn't.
Well, it's going to keep coming up. I'm gonna get shirts made. We should sell them at M-Wave.
Tell me this should just be something like, tell me what synad you start being able to tell the difference of amps apart. We can word it differently, but that's the question.
Now I have to do it at M-Wave.
We should. What's your favorite synad? M-Wave 2026.
We should. Okay.
I'll do that. What's your synad threshold?
M-Wave. I will do that.
Something like that. We'll have to fine tune it, but that would be fun.
I will. We could do different amplifiers of different. We could bring the T-amp in, and
it would be interesting to do that. Like, yeah.
Where could you hear it? Yeah.
The problem in those spaces too, to be just quite frank, because we are trying to be objective and truthful here.
Yeah, the spaces of
all the noises that are going on there. It would be hard to do like a true.
So you'd have all kinds of people saying on our own outside of M-Wave. And I'm happy to host people for this. We can do the projector shootout. Remember when we did the projector shootout in 22? This could be our next thing. We can do it in maybe Ryan Kramer's room or my room or your room, whoever's room. And I can put them behind my screen. Well, I don't need to, but We could do a blind test like that. We just need to have a better treated room so that we're moving that as a variable.
I mean, I feel like at this point, I'm not opposed to it, Ryan, but I've done these like 4 times in depth, and like the results have been the same all 4
I'm
times.
not saying for us. I'm saying I'll invite people.
For M-Wave.
Not just I don't know that I could do it at the same time as M-Wave because it would have to be at a remote location.
Yeah.
But we could do it as that event that we did in 22, the projector comparison that we had all those people over for. I'm happy to put that together. I'm not saying for us because I have an idea of what the difference will be. So I'm not doing this for me. I will gladly experience it because I want to know and I will gladly accept if I'm wrong. But I think we should share this with as many people as possible. And actually, I think the Black Swans are a perfect candidate for it because if you're going to hear a difference, it's going to be on the Black Swans.
I counter that. It's the opposite. You're
You don't
going to
think
not
so?
hear a difference there because unless they have some sort of weird impedance thing, you're not going to hear a difference. You're going to hear less of a difference with a super sensitive speaker.
So you'd want it to be a super not sensitive
If you
speaker?
want to hear, I mean, you can make the rules however you want to make it work or not work. If you want to hear a difference, you're going to choose a very low sensitivity speaker, and then you're going to play it loud. And if you want to, I don't think
on both.
Yes, I mean, realistically, you could show both ends of it. You could try to show a low sensitivity speaker, a high sensitivity speaker, and a normal, say, 87 to 92 dB type sense speaker. So like a 82, a 89, and a 101.
What would be an 82?
An 82 would be like some sort of audiophile bookshelf. There's quite a few of them that are really low sensitivity like that would be on that end.
Okay. We can do that. That'd be fun. Because, I mean, we got a year until M-Wave. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have something to do. Kef Blades. The Kef Blades are gone. They got sold. I like bookshelves because they're a little bit more manageable. But we can do something like that. We got a few questions. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in chat. I'll give the questions a few minutes to come in before I close it. But we did get a few of them. So let's look at that. Miguel Muniz says, does Kaleidoscape do 3D? No, they do not, unfortunately. That would be cool. That would be cool, but they don't do it. TG Key2CS. Hi, guys. I usually turn off my ceiling and back speakers for 5.1 movies, e.g. Christopher Nolan's movies, and Heat simply because there's no actual content on those channels. Do you guys upmix?
I generally upmix everything.
I'm native.
There's rare occasions where I don't.
Jonathan's a heathen.
So he specifically mentioned Christopher Nolan movies. Christopher Nolan's a big fan of DTS-X. I don't know which codec Heat is in. Do you? Without looking it up?
DTS HD.
So that's probably why, I mean, maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but DTS-X is way more aggressive than, and this isn't even just subjective, this is objectively true. DTS-X, Neural X, is more aggressive than Dolby Surround. So if you're staying in the native format, the native container, if you're upmixing like a DTS HD or a DTS what is it, MA, Master Audio, I think it is, DTS MA. If you're upmixing that to Neural X, it's going to do more with the ceiling and rear channels than if it was a Dolby track doing Dolby Surround. So it might be that you feel like it's, I mean, maybe if you don't like it because you feel like it's too aggressive and doing weird things. Dolby Surround is more tame in that regard and less likely to make errors. That's been my clear experience between the two formats.
But I just don't think it's needed. Christopher Nolan's mixes are phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Even for the few speakers that are used in his mixes, it is remarkable the sound field that is done in his movies for the limited number of channels that are utilized. So I don't feel like I'm missing it. TG, you don't need to turn off the channels. If you just have it as native, it won't upmix them.
Right.
You just need to make sure that it's set to native and it won't use them. You don't need to turn them off. It'll just not use them. If you have it on an upmix and you turn them off, you could actually be missing content because it's going to send it to a channel that's turned off. And that would be not good. That's where, Jonathan, you and I differ. Is you like upmixing and I don't.
I mix most everything. There'll be on a rare occasion something weird that happens with upmixers, but when I've noticed that, it almost exclusively has been DTS-X, Neural X upmixer.
Yeah, you upmix 2-channel, you weirdo.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It's just bizarre to me.
No.
No. That's what surround music's for. John Duran, anyone know when the new Madvier update for subtitle management will go live? No. Hopefully soon. I don't know. I haven't been told. For anybody that doesn't know, I do work for Madvier. I do all of the technical support, or not all of it anymore, because we have another guy, Brian. He does a great job. So I do technical support and training for them. And we have not been told when this is releasing. Hopefully around Christmas. That's all the info I got. Stitch says, what movies have you guys watched lately, and what's next on the watch list?
I watched the first couple of Ghostbusters, I think, since we last had a conversation. I enjoyed those with my daughter.
Those are great movies. My daughter is going through Star Wars right now. She's 7. She's never seen them. She just finished episode 1 today.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's like, you just going to watch the first 3? And she looked at me and goes, Dad, how many are there? 12. I'm going to watch 12. Yes.
Well, she must like it then.
She loves movies. She just can get, she's 7. She just can get kind of bored. So what have I watched lately? Nothing really exciting. I need to watch The Nobodies. I watched Hansel and Gretel. That was bad. I got Underwater. I want to watch that from our
Gretel and Hansen. Is that what that was? Was it was backwards, wasn't it? Was that
Hansel
a fun one?
Gretel?
You hated it?
It was bad. Witch Hunter. It was bad. But I think it knew it was bad, and it was just bad. So it is what it is.
So we watched this one. Have you seen this one yet? The Best Worst. I guess it's just the best Christmas pageant ever. I think it used to be. The book's called like The Best Worst Christmas Pageant Ever. That's a really fun movie. If you haven't seen it, check that one out.
What is it called? The
best Christmas pageant ever. It's like it's a heartstring puller. Like it's really a fun one.
Best Christmas pageant ever. Oh, it's a new movie.
It's not that old. Yeah, it's a humorous one, and it belongs in the same style category as some of the classics that are just going to be something you'd rewatch every year. Like it's really good. The story goes that it's a small town church doing a Christmas pageant that's the same thing year after year after year, and the city hoodlums, the little troubled children, invade the church and decide that they're going to be like Mary and Joseph and the wise men, and just hilarity ensues. It's really funny.
All right, well, I got it, so I'm going to watch that.
You'll like it. Watch it with your family. Your family will like it.
Not usually a comedy guy. I'm going on a limb here for you.
If you don't like it, I'll be really surprised. Our whole family and my in-laws all loved it.
All right. Trusting you. I might hate you after this. STV Reed says, I have 4 OSD ICE 1080 HD and ceiling speakers for my Atmos. I'd like to replace them with JTR 110 in walls, but considering the limited sounds that come out of them, is it worth $6,000 price tag? I feel like we need more information.
I feel like that's something we can't really answer, isn't it? How will we answer what the value of $6,000 is to this gentleman?
Would you buy those speakers? Would you buy better tops?
So
I don't know. Okay, we got to figure out.
I mean, that's my exact point, right? Is that value is subjective person to person. What I think financially is reasonable may not be to him, and vice versa.
I get that, but I'm saying, would you, if you were in his position?
I think that's a little bit rich for my personal taste, but then that speaks to nothing other than just my financial position.
All right, so these speakers, they're 10-inch woofers, 10-inch in ceiling.
So that would be the same tops that DL Beck had in our Iowa tour, the 110s.
Yeah, they're good speakers.
Yeah, they are. There's nothing wrong with those at all.
So 89. We're talking about the JTRs, not the OSDs. So the OSDs are a 10-inch injected composite paper cone woofer, 2.5-inch paper cone mid-range, 1-inch silk dome tweeter. It's 89 dB sensitive.
I mean, the JTRs are going to be more sensitive than that, but how big's your room? How high are they away from your seating position? Like, what's the distance? What's your bed layer? Are you running OSD speakers on your bed layer? Or you have JTR on your bed layer? Like, what? Yeah, Ryan's question, getting more information is good.
I understand what you're saying. I guess throw out the JTRs in this context. Would you get better tops than that?
Could you pull up his tops so we can look at it a little bit?
Yeah.
Are they a coax style or do they have a tweeter?
It's a 3-way, actually.
So it's like an in ceiling. We know OSD. OSD is one of your M-Wave people.
Yeah, OSD makes decent stuff. They're more value oriented. So I won't say that they're the best, but they make decent stuff for the money. I mean, if you don't want to spend a lot, there's nothing wrong with that. And that goes back to Jonathan saying value is subjective. How much 6K is worth is different to different people. But these are the speakers.
And what is he trying to do? Like, what is, like, you always ask this question. It's a very good question. Like, what are you missing? What do you want to change? What's your pursuit?
So he says he has JTR bed layer right now.
So right out of the gate, look at the 1-inch silk soft dome tweeter. You know, we've had this conversation a lot of times. That very traditionally, unless they're very close, that's not going to do reference. You're going to be lacking dynamics and highs. How important that is from an Atmos speaker, like a ceiling speaker, becomes less important than a bed layer, but ultimately it could still be important. Do you feel like in dynamics from the highs that you're missing a little bit of the highest frequencies, like it kind of fades out or doesn't quite have the impact up there? Do you even know of any content that would make you think that? The woofer's probably large enough to not have a problem with reference and that sensitivity. Like 10-inch woofer should do it. The 2.5 and 1-inch are more questionable with a 3-way.
There's more factors than that. I mean, theoretically, it should not have a problem, but that tweeter's going to give up the ghost.
Yeah, that tweeter probably won't even hit much over 95 at your seats as far as SPL. And if you're looking for 105 at your seats, you're missing a little bit unless you're very close, unless your ceiling's very low.
And let me restate what Jonathan says. It'll do it, potentially. It's just not going to be pleasant.
Or it might not even make a bad noise. It might just be missing content.
Yeah.
Like sometimes with an AVR or something, it will just respectfully decline to play the frequency response.
Respectfully decline.
Meaning like it won't make a bad sound. It won't sound like it's wrecked. It just won't make the sound. Like it'll make it at a much quieter level than what it's designed to do.
So STV, my question to you, how loud do you listen?
Yes.
What are you doing that is making you feel like you need to upgrade? If you've got JTR bed layer, I feel like it's probably the direction to go. And here's another part of this equation that I think it's worth looking into. How do I, there we go. Okay. I got rid of chat. How did I do that? All right. The other part of this, and this is why I have that DAC that I use with my headphones, is it's not all about the objective. Your subjective preferences and your conscience, or not conscience, but your consciousness can get in the way sometimes. And have a problem with this. And that problem is that if I think something could possibly be better, and I'm waffling on whether or not I should do something, it's always going to nag on me. I'm always going to wonder, could this have been better? Should I have done this differently? Should I have done this a long time ago? And so to me, depending on your relationship with that $6,000, because it's different for every person, you have to gauge what that feeling of not worrying about that anymore is worth. Because if you're not worrying about it anymore, you're able to be more engrossed in the content. And it's a very freeing feeling. So if that's on the radar and that's part of how you're feeling, my personal recommendation would be to do it, to get those JTRs, because it's going to remove that feeling. But it could also bring in the feeling of, well, crap, I spent $6,000 and I didn't necessarily need to. Buyer's remorse then comes in. So 6 one way, half a dozen another, I guess. But I'm of the mind that you get them and it removes that feeling, at least to me personally. So Jonathan, he says that he's having difficulty level matching.
Did I just close out? Can you hear me, Ryan?
Yes. Bye, Jonathan. Hope you find your dad. He can't see me.
That's hilarious. I can see you now. That's real funny. So level matching them, what kind of processor are you using? Is he AVR pre-pro, did he say?
No.
Level matching the JTR can be tricky because they're so sensitive. So what you might need to do on that if you're using external amps is to get an attenuator. And I can show you what those look like if you need me to. But XLR attenuators are available at like Parts Express or Amazon. You can attenuate the JTR by like 5 or 10 dB with a perfectly neutral, transparent just attenuation. Like there's no frequency response change, there's no dynamic change. Those attenuators probably cost like $8 or $10 a piece. You do one per channel. That would lower your JTR's sensitivity effectively. If your amps are fixed gain amps, if your amps aren't fixed gain amps, just lower your input attenuator knobs on the channels for the JTR. So level matching shouldn't be impossible. You can do it those ways I talked about. That's how I did it when I used to run clips in JTR.
I don't think that's necessarily it. If those speakers are compressing and you're trying to play some type of wideband pink noise, depending on how wide it is, if the speakers are compressing at X volume, those OSDs are going to come in at a lower volume because they're compressing.
Yeah, but you just set there shouldn't be compression on channel trim setting. Compressing on dynamic swings and peaks, sure. But when you level set volume aren't up at 105 dB, for instance, setting your levels.
Just saying, that could be what's happening.
Probably like setting it at 75 or 85 dB. And if you're having trouble setting it there, it's because you just have there's too much sensitivity difference in the speakers. The JTR towers are a lot of times not even the towers, like the mid woofer or the compression driver with the woofers flanking on either side. Those are like 101 dB sensitive. So you got a 12 dB sensitivity difference.
Well, and a lot of AVRs won't even cut that much.
So
they max out at 12.
Another field trip to give you a sample here.
Jonathan's going to the store.
So here we go.
No.
Oh, look. He's saying I'm just making stuff up.
All right.
Here's a 15 dB attenuator.
He didn't say anything about level matching. MW did. All right.
Here's a 10 dB attenuator. They also have 5s or 6s. I mean, it just depends on where you get. And you just put this in line with your XLR port. So it comes out, it's in line with the cable. It's got a female and a male end. And it just attenuates the signal that much. I mean, it's just a voltage attenuation. And it does exactly that. So like I used that when I had mismatched speakers, when I was running JTR LCR and had like traditional audiophile 87 dB type speakers as my surrounds and stuff. That'll get you level matched. As far as the performance, yeah, I mean, Ryan's right. If you're trying to run full reference, then like we already talked about several times, that tweeter is not going to keep up. A 1-inch soft-tone tweeter by itself will not keep up with the reference. We must have said that 50 times on this show probably. So it's just kind of meeting that same old gong, but it is what it is.
I would do it, STV. I would do it. If you need speakers, shoot me a message. You got my contact info. Hopefully you're liking that 900.
There's a 25 dB attenuator right there. Just link them together.
You don't need to show off, Jonathan. One is enough.
You might need that for your Black Swans 25 dB of attenuation. Truly. But I mean, all that's not even necessary if you just have attenuator knobs on your amp, input attenuator knobs. Like just turn down the JTR signal. You can still, we've said this a bunch of times. I don't know what kind of amplifiers you're running STV Reed, but you can still get full power out of any of your amplifiers. And I say any generally, typically, out of any of your amplifiers with one single click on the input attenuation, because that's an input attenuator. It's a gain matching structure. It's not a limiter. So if you're feeding enough input voltage, then it's going to still give you full power out of just a single click. And if you have it all the way cranked up, it's like you're not attenuating the signal at all. You're just getting full signal.
Stitch, that's a great comment.
We should all have these in our. That should be another M-Wave T-shirt.
It should. Is that an attenuator in your pocket?
Oh man.
Bruce Barnes, was that graph the difference between Audyssey being run twice or between Audyssey reading in the U-Mic or whatever? Sorry for popped in and had zero context.
So the Omni mic, what I did is I did two just real simple single place runs with the Audyssey, so not moving the mic, and I had it on a mic stand, so that would be the same. So I ran Audyssey twice, and I measured it with Omni mic using the different mics afterwards. So real quick and dirty test, perfectly accurate. Omni mic measured from its stand what the two Audyssey mics did after they ran Audyssey. So one system, effectively, the same processor, would sound 5 dB different in the treble based on which mic you used.
Does this mean you didn't watch the Jurassic Park movie? Ah, crap! No, I didn't watch it. I got to watch that. So I did a solo stream, Jonathan, and I was commenting about how that particular topic was how everybody can view movies differently. Like somebody will have a really positive view on a movie and somebody really negative. And I made a comment of how production houses need to stop trying to do the same formula. Like, do something new. You can do dinosaurs. It just doesn't have to be in the Jurassic Park universe. Do something else with dinosaurs. And so one of the viewers sent me a dinosaur movie, and it has something like a 2 out of 10 on IMDb, but I'm going to watch it. So if you want to partake in the horribleness, we can watch it together like we did on our computers when we were watching Tremors.
Oh, no.
Watching together. Oh.
What's the name of this movie?
I'd have to go back and find it. Bruce, I think it was Bruce that sent it to me. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
Speaking of, I read a little interesting Facebook today post, and I didn't confirm it. This may not even be true, but it was on Facebook, so take it for what it's worth. It was an interview with Cameron, who said that he was inches away, basically, from
I saw that.
Park. So, well, probably because I sent it to you.
Oh, that's probably why.
But it's interesting to think about. Like, think about James Cameron back in his heyday, making Terminator 2 and The Abyss and Titanic and stuff like that. Back in his heyday, grabbing Jurassic Park licensing, that would have been a totally different movie. And what he said in that comment was, he actually said he didn't think he did he wouldn't have done as good a job of Spielberg, because Spielberg made it accessible. Spielberg made it PG-13 and enjoyable for whole families, where his concept of it was like the book, like a gritty R-rated scary movie, like Aliens, like his Aliens movie.
Man, we missed out.
I kind of agree. Like, I kind of think a grittier Jurassic Park and the theme of Aliens would have been pretty impressive.
Yes.
Because that book, have you ever read that book? Did you ever get into
it?
It's a fantastic book. It's actually one of my favorite absolute books. And that it's pretty gory.
So the movie is called Jurassic Predator.
Tell me you're a low budget movie without telling me you're a low budget.
Scientists attempt to resurrect a dinosaur, spirals into chaos when their whatever specimen breaks free, leaving mercenaries to contain the threat. So it's like Jurassic Park, but it's not Jurassic Park. And it's on Prime, so we can watch it.
Does it have like Muppets that come across the screen?
I do love me a bad movie. I do love me a bad movie, as long as it knows it's a bad movie.
I think I'll watch that. I like bad movies like that. That sounds like it might be right up my alley. What if it's like the next Trimmers and we fall in love with it and we're like, this is great.
This is awesome. We should. And then based on our recommendations, then 10 spinoffs happen. And now we're on Jurassic Predator 10. And yeah, I could see that happening. We have that poll.
Funny.
I need to watch that. Daniel Philipot 00. Hey guys, made the final decision that the PSA S21s are going back. So going to make the jump to JGR. I know you both have experience with Cap 2400s and have heard they have sealed qualities. I mean,
they played on 10 hertz is probably what he's talking about. Like they have a pretty low capability.
Yeah, that's because of the cabinet size. I mean, and the driver, but they're big.
Beefy driver.
And ported subs, to do really well, they need to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Most ported subs are not big enough.
You're going to have a hard time finding anybody who heard a Cap 2400 and doesn't say that they're a great sub.
Scrap.
So that's a good choice.
No, it's a good sub. They're solid. I don't think you need to worry or question that decision. Not saying PSAs are bad. I think PSAs are decent subs. I don't have a lot of experience with PSA, though. Stitch says, Jonathan, what happened to watching the rest of Indiana Jones movies?
We petered out after the first one. So, Ryan, you're going to have to go to bat a little bit for me here. I'm not sure we talked about this on the stream, but in text, you told me the same, that you kind of thought Raiders of the Lost Ark might be better left to nostalgia than watching it anew.
Yes.
I felt that way, and I'm surprised to say it. I really, I adore that movie in my memory, but watching it afresh, I thought, this is C tier. It's not great.
And I felt this way. I've said this about Star Wars numerous times. And watching Phantom Menace, it is not good. Granted, Phantom Menace was not ever good, but it's not really any better or worse than 4, 5, or 6, in my opinion.
I didn't hate. I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's average. It wasn't it doesn't hold up as well as I thought. The music's got that dated feel. John Williams' theme on that is awesome. I'm not saying the theme is bad. The theme is awesome. But the sound quality in the movie itself, because of its age, is lacking dynamics. It's lacking modern audio. It's it got that distinct 1980s type movie sound. The story's just okay.
I think it was
gunfights ridiculously terrible.
It was great during the time.
Yes, I would agree with that.
We've moved on.
All true.
And it needs to be left in nostalgia.
And yet, in one of our friends' text group, I was like the mad cow for saying such a thing.
Hey, I was on your team when we were talking about it on our crawl drive.
I almost got defriended by some of those guys. I felt so strongly about.
I feel like I'm going to wake up and somebody's going to be standing over me when I'm sleeping for
Braveheart style with the mace.
Yes, and I'm just going to be like, oh, this is about Star Wars, isn't it? And then I'm just going to die. Yeah. That's... I'm not going to have a place in this hobby anymore. They're going to run us out.
We're both getting booted. We're here to say edgy things and chew bubble gum, and we're all out of gum.
Daniel Phillip says, I'm debating on going endgame and getting RS2s, but wonder if the 2400s would fit the bill for less money. 3,000 cubic feet, 10 hertz is low enough for me, and I usually listen to 10 dB below reference. Dude, 10 hertz is low enough for most people.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah, there's
most people
very much content at all.
I think most people, and Jonathan, disagree with me if you will, most people that say their rooms can get to single digits actually can't at what they're really listening to. They may be able to do it at listening, like when they're doing a measurement sweep, but they ain't doing it when they're rocking out.
No, not at all. Not even close.
No.
A sweep at 85 dB to show you have 5 hertz is not anything like what would be called for at 115 dB. You're going to need a lot of sealed subs to get that kind of output at 115.
Yep.
And then even when you have it, this is an interesting point. Sheldon, for a long time, and I don't know if he still does now, I haven't talked to him about it recently, but for a long time, he decided he had 16 18s in a fairly small home theater room. He said he actually was filtering down below because all it did, you couldn't really hear it, and you were getting the sensation out of the tactile field devices, and all it was doing is making the room groan and the house groan.
Yep.
Like he said, it was just adding noises he didn't want because he already had the feel. So there's something to consider when you have the capability and you back off of it anyway.
So I haven't told anybody this. I think I told chat that my door was making noise, but I did fix it. And what ended up happening, Jonathan, you've seen the door into my theater. Big door. Like she's a big girl. She weighs she's hefty. She got big booty. So what had actually happened is the low frequency, and think about this as what you're hearing in the rattles and stuff. The low frequency had actually pushed the door out by a millimeter. It wasn't much, but it pushed it out. So the actual door weighs 200 pounds, and it has 1, 2, 3 catches, and then it has 1, 2, 3 hooks that come down and pull the door in. And then it has a catch at the bottom that drops. It has a sweep that drops when it's shut. It weighs over 200 pounds. I know this because I've carried it, and it was not a smart decision, but it's one of those things. I'm on the stairs. I can't uncommit. Like, I'm committed to this. So we're going. That's what happened. That low end pushed the door out, and it was causing it to do this, and it was just unpleasant. So I think he's absolutely right that the low frequencies, while it's cool, I don't know that most people would ever notice.
We've done that at some of our shootouts too, where we were doing clips that specifically had like 7 hertz content and 15 hertz content, and kind of seeing where it mattered and how much difference there was. The other thing is, a lot of times when you have that real low content, it's masked by the higher bass.
Yes.
And so it's very subtle, even if it's there, unless you're at very, very high volumes. And as we just told you, nobody's getting that kind of really low subsonic type sound unless they have a lot of sealed subs.
Well, and there's very, very little content that actually gets down that low.
All true.
Very little.
We're talking fractions of the mainstream stuff.
I
mean, there's a reason that like still the best type movies are 10 or 20, 15 years old because they don't make them that often that have those super low frequencies. And something like the Test Tone in Day After Tomorrow is still one of the like prolific clips that everyone recommends because it's, like pretty much accidentally put in there, and they've removed it on the future releases. So it doesn't even have that because it was blowing up people's equipment.
Yeah.
But
I know this because I have a measurement mic in my room and I can see it. And it's, even then, the mic isn't perfectly calibrated to get down that low, right? It's very difficult to measure that low, but I can see in certain content energy down that low. I can see it going down that direction, right? And you can see the amount of energy, so it's easy to surmise you're a few hertz off that it's continuing down. You're smart. In my demo reel, I might have that get down below 10, 3 clips. And the primary one, and it's not even, I was talking to Adam Peltz about this. It's not even real content. It's artificially added. The Imagine Dragons Smoke and Mirrors tour, the Radioactive song, the low-end content, it absolutely gets down into single digits. A lot of energy. And you can, when you take it away in the Mad VR Experience Center, it's very easy to notice because there's a lot of energy and pressurization that you miss. So I notice it there, but I don't know that I would notice it if I didn't know that it was supposed to be there. If you understand what I mean. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. And if you don't know that it was supposed to be there and you don't have it, you're none the wiser. So that Fury has some. I actually don't think Into the Black Hole has any from Interstellar. And the Stomp that a lot of people comment on from the T-Rex in Ready Player One is like 20 or 30 hertz.
Let me show our audience. You already know this, but let me show the audience. And I think most audience knows this if they followed us for a while. A graph here to kind of show what we're talking about. So let's do right here, share. Tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. Just got to
So
zoom
this is the Audioholics review of the PB or the SVS sealed box
in.
3000.
Good sub choice.
So, and it doesn't, I'm not picking on SVS. All sealed subwoofers do this.
I actually have a better one for this, but talk
So-
about it and I'll show this next.
So here, like I saw someone in the chat say, "Hey, how come this person says that they can get 5 hertz and with only 218s or 418s?" They can if their sub is tuned that low. The PB or the SB 3000 isn't. It's tuned to more like 20 hertz before it rolls off. But look what happens as you start turning it up. So here's a 90 dB frequency response spot. Bingo, pretty good. Then you go to 95. It's starting to roll off. Now you go to 100. Now it's starting to roll off at 30 instead of 20. Well, let's go to the 105 dB sweep. Now we're rolling off at 40. So after 40, it's rolling off. Let's go to 110 dB sweep. Now we're up at 50 dB or 50 hertz roll off. So what I'm telling you is you could have your nice flat frequency response graph down to like 5 hertz at that lower frequency, but none of these single subs in low quantity can do that as it escalates up the SPL scale here. They'll all start rolling off. That's why you need quantities so that each one's not working as hard. But that only goes so far because each doubling of subs that are co-located only get you 6 dB when you double the power and double the subs. So like you start running out of headroom fast, and there's a limit where you barely make anything happen unless you start getting huge quantities because it's kind of exponential growth. Like 2 SB 3000s co-located would give you 6 dB more than 1, but 4 of them would only give you 6 dB more than 2, and 8 of them would only give you 6 dB more than 4. And then you got to go to 16 to get 6 dB more. So you start running out of runway pretty quick. All right, what do you got, Ryan?
Okay, so to piggyback a little bit on what you're talking about here, when people talk about DSP and subs, a lot of times what ends up happening is what you're seeing with the 3000, that fall off, right? That's happening at 30 to 40 hertz. That's coming off at 1 dB per octave.
Mm-hmm.
It looks flatter and it looks like it extends flat down to a lower frequency because the DSP is pulling everything down or boosting the low end stuff. You're moving the sub out of its natural state. So when you see subs that do that roll off at a higher frequency, a lot of times, and I'm going to show you an example of this in the next one, it's because the sub is not getting any DSP. It's not being artificially manipulated. The artificial part doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. I'm simply explaining what that
put another way, and we've said this on the podcast before, is that DSP stops functioning as you approach the sub's natural limits.
Yes.
So like you can try to boost it all you want down low, but it's going to go back to its natural frequency response as you go up towards the top of the SPL capability.
All right. So here's the next one. So this is one of my 32s. So the 32 will play, this is on a clipple, will play at around 30 hertz at 140 dB. And it's actually doing more than this because this was measured on an old amplifier, so it's got more power. The amplifier was actually clipping down low. But this illustrates my point, is that at 10 hertz, this sealed subwoofer is playing using this amplifier down to 100, at 10 hertz, 110 dB max output before it encounters distortion. So it can play higher than this. It's simply running into the wall that they set. And this is, you look at Audioholics, Gene and James outline this in their max SPL graphs or the charts. It'll say this harmonic of distortion was encountered at this percentage, and that's their limit. It can play sound louder than that. It's just too much distortion to be valuable. And that's where Jeffrey, they've put this on. With the speakers, it's like 3%, something absurdly low. I don't know what it is on the subs. I think it's a lot higher than that because as you get lower and lower frequencies, as the excursion increases, you get more and more distortion. And you're not able to pick it up because it's so low frequencies, it's not audible anyway. But anyway, my point with this on your 3000 graph, I wanted to show this, is that that's just the natural roll-off of a sealed sub. If I wanted to make this flat, I could institute DSP, let's say at 125 dB at 20 hertz, and it would look much flatter if I pulled all of this down. But I'm still going to encounter compression as I try and pull this up. No matter how much I'm boosting here,
You can't go above that red line effectively.
I mean, I could if their measurement is limited by distortion, right?
Right.
But at some point, the driver's not going to give you any more. It's
But
going
this
to
isn't
compress.
like minor distortion, where CEA distortion measurements are. It's pretty significant percentage-wise.
Yeah. So here, for all intents and purposes, I can't go past this.
Unless you get another one, and then you can go
Yes.
6 dB past that.
Yes.
And then 4 of them goes another 6 dB past the 2.
Yes.
So that's how you, if you want 115 dB at 10 hertz, that's how you do it. You start adding more.
So for my room, the reason I'm able to do that is because I have 4 32s in that room, because the 50 is effectively acting as 2 32s. So I'm getting 12 dB on top of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm able to get what I need to do. But that is my limit. Like, that was the measured limit. Otherwise, I'm going to compress. So it takes an extraordinary amount of power and an extraordinary amount of surface area in order to do this. And yes, you can gain more through room gain, through corner loading, you're going to gain some there. Absolutely. But as you get lower and lower into the frequencies, it becomes astronomically more difficult to do, which is exactly why the commercial cinemas don't do it, because the rooms are huge and the power needed to be able to do that would be extraordinary.
And
over multiple theaters.
When you go to those low frequencies too, it's hard to stop it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This is what causes my upstairs to feel like it's coming apart. And this is exactly what Sheldon's talking about.
Yep.
And this is exactly what destroyed the grout in your floor.
Yep.
Yep. Probably actually up in here, the grout.
Probably 30, 40 hertz, maybe even as high as a kick drum frequency, but SPL is what destroyed it.
Yes.
And the floor heaving up and down, literally trying to absorb some of that acoustic energy on a tile floor that has a wooden underfloor right above the home theater room. The grout just, as it heaves up and down, the grout's not happy. I've not kept up with comments that much.
Keep it up with them.
Real recently, I'm looking through them now.
So somebody said that JTR RTJ is releasing a new sub.
I don't know anything about that, actually, surprisingly, but I don't. I have a lot of friends with JTR things, and including some dealers, and usually Little Bird tells me things, but I didn't hear anything yet. So if that's true, that's cool, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Good for the industry. Hopefully that happens. Let's see. Did that. Oh, we didn't really answer his question. We kind of went off on this tangent. Oh, yeah, we did. Is 10 hertz low enough? Yeah, it is.
It is.
If he'll even get that, given the amount of subs that are in the room. So STV Reed says, I'm using an OSD 120 watt amp for the Atmos and a Monolith 200 watt for the JTR and LCR 110 SL surrounds. So this goes back to that OSD top channel that he was running into.
So the Monolith doesn't have any input attenuators, and OSD amp, I don't know if that does or not, but probably not. It's probably a fixed like 32 dB of amplification or 28 dB of amplification.
I don't know what its gain is.
So if they don't have input attenuators, then yeah, you're probably going to have to use some of these things that we were talking about.
Are you happy to see me?
We have to wrap this up at some point, Ryan. These comments just keep coming in. I don't mind it, but
we're at the end.
Okay.
We're at the end. There's no more questions. We've reached the end. Yeah, Brian, I know he redid his room. I just don't know what he's doing. I thought he was doing it because he was becoming a dealer.
Yeah, I did too. And maybe he was going to put RTJ stuff in there or something. That's what my assumption was.
That's what I thought. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to text him after we get done with this and find out. Or I could just ask Scott. Or not Scott. Tony. And see if I know anything. So the movie, obvious choice, Jonathan, is Jurassic Predator.
I'll watch it.
I think we need to watch it together. And I think it's one of those movies that we could just watch on our computers and stream.
Yeah. This week is going to be a little tricky, right? Maybe not.
Watch it next week.
Okay. I was going to say, because I'm going to my family's the next couple of days.
No, not this weekend. We'll watch it.
Going to be with my family.
We'll watch it next week. I will be streaming on Friday to talk about sales and all that whatnot. And I'll probably get called the snake oil emperor or something instead of the king after this video.
Meanwhile, you're linking sales that you don't even have any commission on and stuff, as well. So it's like,
I don't know. Whatever. I'm not trying to take people's money, man. Get out of here.
The most impressive stuff I've seen on sale far has been those 98-inch TVs that I don't even want because I only want OLED, but 98-inch TVs for $1,000 from a couple different vendors. That's wild, man.
That is.
I don't even know how that's possible. You got these Chinese tariffs right now that are like over 100%. So are they just eating that? Because if the tariffs are 100% higher than they were 2 years ago, and those TVs will cost way more 2 years ago, how are they making them and shipping them from China for $1,000 plus
maybe
100%
they're moving them
tariff?
to Taiwan or something. I don't know. No idea.
Wild.
Oh, John Nilleris says 24s.
Ooh.
Okay. That's exciting.
That sounds like something Scott Newby would do.
That's big sub. That was big.
Says the guy with a 50-inch sub.
I don't know what you're talking about. So I think the problem is we traded out that driver, and I think that's what pushed that thing out. I don't know, but she's a different animal now. But I'm excited to hear those 24s.
Hey, we're getting a note from Home Theater Denmark saying, why is this comment not showing on the screen? I wonder if it's because maybe it has a little delay with an ad or something that came in. Is that possible?
I don't see any comments.
We certainly don't field any of these comments. If someone comes up here and says something that we don't want on here, which doesn't even happen very much, we have ability to like delete the comment or block the person, but I haven't done that at all tonight, and I don't think Ryan has either. Like, we usually have a little private chat on if we have to do that, or turn off comments for a little bit as we kind of take care of it. I'll
just ban you.
We're not blocking you, man. Sorry.
24 by 24. You think he'd do 24 24s?
That's a lot of firepower. I don't know.
Scott would do that, though. He would absolutely do that.
I don't know how. I honestly can ask this. I don't know how the neighbors wouldn't be bothered by what he had in there before and what he's going to have in their future. Like, how is that possible? When he's running 152, 155, 156 dB, whatever he's at, that's audible to the neighbors. Absolutely, it is. You can feel it through the earth at that point.
Maybe the houses next to him are prop houses and he actually owns them so that no neighbors will build there.
He had to buy the neighbors' houses.
Nobody lives there. It's just empty shells inside so that he can play with his subwoofers.
So I have one more thing I want to talk about, and then maybe we can call it a night. But I made a AI video this week.
I saw that.
Just to kind of share some interest that I found in that lately. It's one of my lowest performing videos I've ever made, not because of rating, but just because of few watching. And it's interesting because there's like, I just think people aren't that interested. Like, that's AI slop. I don't really care about it.
It's not slop.
If you haven't caught up with some of the AI stuff that's out there in the last 2 to 3, 4 weeks, there's been 2 new AI engines that have released, and they're really revolutionary. I'll put my playlist in here. If nothing else, go listen to some of these songs and tell me what you think. Like, they're too good. It's remarkable. There's a lot of things happening that are pretty interesting, and I think it'd be fun to discuss that a little bit. But we don't have to
do that in your M-Wave room for like a short demo of pick out the AI generated song.
Man, by then I don't think anyone could tell at all. Why did that try to start playing? View full playlist. Okay, and then let me do a share, and then I'll just put this in the chat here. So I think, sorry, I posted that under your name. I just pushed enter.
It's fine.
I think what's interesting about it is AI music. I've listened to it for on and off a little bit here and there for years, and it's just like meh. But now with these new engines, good luck telling it it's not a human on a lot of those things that are kind of in that playlist. Very specifically, and I don't want to play any of them right now. We can go back and watch the other video, but listen to some of those things on your system at home. Some of them are better than others, but the dynamic, the human dimension of it, the creativity of the solos, like the sax solo, or the drum solo, or the guitar solo, even the harmonies of the human voices or the harmonies that it's creating are really quite remarkable. Like, good luck differentiating which one's not a human and which one is. Lightning Crashes, a cover by AI on that live song, is fantastic. Korn, a cover by AI on that Korn song, Freak on a Leash, is fantastic. Other ones are in there are fantastic. Really something, man. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Okay, that's enough on that. But just something else to like realize things are a changing.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Well, we got a movie to watch. I'm sure it'll be an epic masterpiece. Best thing ever made. It'll put Jurassic Park to shame. It'll be the R-rated Jurassic Park we always wanted.
Wouldn't that be something if it's some sort of like a horror gore type atrocity of a movie? Like, I reserve the right to turn it off if it's too terrible.
No.
My time is too precious.
We're committed. This is commitment. We are in this together.
Funny.
All right. Well, time to call it.
I agree. Good night, fellas.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy the holidays with your family. Eat way too much food. I know I am. And then I'm going to hate myself afterwards for doing it. And then I'm going to watch this awesome movie. Because I'm not going to be able to wait for Jonathan because I want to see the Jurassic Predator. Because I got to get ready for Predator Badlands. I need to watch the Jurassic Predator. Wouldn't that be something if it was a Velociraptor with Predator dreadlocks and it was shooting like laser cannons and stuff? And it'd be the perfect awful movie for me. Just knowing what it was, and as long as
we're talking in the score territory. If it's 20%, we're talking the score territory of that stupid War of the Worlds movie we watched that was just gosh awful.
But as long as it knows it's bad, I don't have a problem with it. It's just got to know it's bad.
What are you doing to us, Bruce? I guess we'll tell you next week.
We will know. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Enjoy the holiday, and we'll see you guys next time.